right around McIntosh that's now working its way east of Highway 43. This storm is moving to the northeast at 40 miles per hour. So let me put the forecast cone just a little bit before that and give you an updated timeline of when this storm could be arriving. So for those of you in Carlton, this storm will be knocking on your doorstep likely within the next 10 to 15 minutes. That means you still have a little bit of time before this storm makes its way towards your neighborhood. That means you have time to get into your safe place and also have the necessary items that you need. So that your safe place, not a bad idea to bring a helmet with you, and also just make sure that your safe place is good to go. Again, that's going to be the interior room, away from windows, lowest level of your home. I'll check with my team here in just a moment to see if we've had any new updates when it comes to our radar. So let me go ahead and go back and I'll check that. And it looks like we do have the radar data coming in, which is positive. Again, we have technical difficulties. So let me go ahead and get this off of here and clear this. 1 second, there we go. And this is the most recent radar scan. Again, the time's currently 8:41. And that's exactly what we have here on the scan. So let me go to the storm relative velocity. And if we are seeing a tornado, this is going to be in the area in which it is. So as I've been talking about, that storm is now moving east of Highway 43. The rotation does look to be more broad in nature, which is positive. But for those of you still east of Highway 43 in the McIntosh area, still be seeking shelter. So as I zoom things in here, you can see 9th Street in this particular area. But once you get close to the river, that's when we start to see changes. Apologies. I do have somebody trying to hop in on links too. Kelly, could you tell them that I'm currently working on this right here? All right, let's catch our bearings here. 1 second. Again, I apologize for the technical difficulties that we have been having, but the radar is now coming in. The time is currently 8:42. We have a tornado warning for southern Washington County and for southern Clarke County. That is going to go until 9:15. For those of you along Highway 43 around McIntosh, the threat of a tornado looks to be ending here relatively soon, but it is still there. If you're west of Highway 43, you are in the clear from a tornado. If you're east of Highway 43 in McIntosh, still be seeking shelter. For those of you up towards Carlton, Choctaw Bluff, and Rockville, now is the time that you want to be seeking shelter from this storm as it's working its way in your direction. These storms are moving fairly quickly to the northeast around 40 miles per hour. So not only are we checking the velocity product here, but we also have this area that kind of looks like a comma. That's where rotation could be within this storm. So at this point, now in the Carlton community, Rockville community, Choctaw Bluff, get into your safe place. That's going to be your interior room, away from windows, lowest floor of your home. For those of you that are now up towards Alma, Gainestown Landing, Barlow Bend, you need to be watching this storm very carefully as this storm is going to continue to work its way in that direction. So let's go ahead and go back on the velocity product and you can see the progression of this storm. And we'll go ahead and take you back to when this tornado warning was issued in the first place, when it was moving out of Mobile County and moving into southern Washington County, where the rotation on this storm was very pronounced. Then it moved up towards Highway 43, and now that rotation is more broad in nature, which hopefully is a good sign, and then that would indicate that it might not necessarily be producing a tornado anymore. This was a radar confirmed tornado. I don't think that we actually saw eyes on this storm, but again, radar confirmed because it looks like it did produce a debris ball. But we are seeing that broadening of the rotation, which is good news. But still, for those of you in Carlton, Choctaw Bluff, be seeking shelter from this storm. We'll get back to it in just one moment. But let's go ahead and give you kind of an update of where we currently stand for the rest of the NBC 15 area. So far today, we have been very fortunate. There have been several significant severe storms to our north and to our west today. This is the one tornado warning that we have seen across the NBC 15 area. But as we go through tonight, there is more energy that is coming in from the west. So the risk of severe weather has not gone down. It still stays with us. Really, until this line of storms passes you by, the risk of severe weather will continue. Hopefully these storms that are developing out in Santa Rosa County and through the eastern part of our area, hopefully they stay below severe limits and they help kind of take some of the fuel out of the storms that are currently moving in from the west. But the fact remains, no matter where you are across the NBC 15 area, there continues to be a significant risk of severe storms. And this is the most recent update from the Storm Prediction Center when it comes to the severe outlook scale. So our northwestern communities are no longer included within the level 5 out of 5 high risk. But you can see most of the NBC 15 area is still included within that level 4 out of 5 moderate risk. And that means numerous severe storms are likely. And then when you look at the current tornado watch that we have, most of the NBC 15 area continues to be in a tornado watch. So all of our Alabama and Florida counties are within this watch. That's going to go until 3 o'clock in the morning. George County, Mississippi is also included, but you'll notice that Greene County and Jackson County are no longer included within those tornado watches. And that's simply because as that line of storms passes you by, the risk of severe weather will finally start to go down. So let's go ahead and go back to the radar and we'll see what the new scan for the radar shows when it comes to the current tornado warned storm that we have that's now moving into the southern portion of Clarke County. So for those of you now that are currently around McIntosh, the threat of a tornado has come to an end. But on that most recent scan, we still have that rotation again that is working its way now through the southern portion of Clarke County. So as I put it on the base reflectivity, if this storm is producing a tornado, chances are you probably won't be able to see this coming because there is a lot of rain associated with this rotation. So for those of you up towards Carlton, Choctaw Bluff, can't stress enough, get in that safe place, interior room, away from windows. Do not try to go outside and see it. So I'll call out some of these streets. If I call out these streets, those are going to be the spots that need to be seeking shelter. It looks like that's going to be Bell Green Road. Let's see, we'll go over towards St. Joseph Road. This is going to be up towards the Carlton community, Choctaw Bluff, Rockville Road. Let's go over towards Oil Well Road. We have Choctaw Bluff Road. I've mentioned that one already. And so this is going to move up Rockville Road as the storm continues to move to the northeast, right around 40 miles per hour. Now let me check with the National Weather Service in Mobile to see if there's been any new information there. So they're going to continue this warning. So they came out with that about 5 minutes ago. And looks like we have a new severe thunderstorm warning just to the northeast of our area. So again, this tornado warning that we have for southern Washington County and for southern Clarke County, that's going to continue until 9:15. So for the Carlton community, Choctaw Bluff, those are going to be those spots that need to be seeking shelter. And that's also going to continue for the Rockville community. And we'll see if there are any new updates from the National Weather Service here pretty soon, because where this storm is currently moving is in a pretty rural area. Until it gets up towards Carlton, it's not posing too much of a threat for other spots that are currently out there. And again, across the rest of the NBC 15 area, things are relatively quiet. We do have a couple of loud and noisy storms that are around, and we have seen some pretty strong gusty winds today, even outside of these storms. In Mobile, we've already recorded a few wind gusts over 50 miles per hour. So let's check with the National Weather Service. Did get a new update here just on social media just a second ago. It does appear that the rotation has broadened out overall, but the storm is showing signs that it might try to tighten up again, which is why the National Weather Service at this point believes that they'll stick with this warning currently until 9:15. The time is currently 8:48, which means we would still have a while to go with this warning. So we'll check and wait for the next couple of scans to come in and see if that rotation stays broad, or maybe it tightens back up and produces maybe a tornado, because it looks like when this warning was first issued, it did produce a debris ball, a debris signature on the radar, which made it a radar confirmed tornado. So let me go ahead and go back out and we'll check that radar in just one moment. But let's give you back to kind of an overview of where we currently stand. Time is currently 8:49. We do have that one active tornado warning, southern Washington County, southern Clarke County. That storm at this point is now moving into southern Clarke County. We're seeing scattered storms move across the NBC 15 area, generally from west to east. The storms aren't moving too fast from west to east. They're mainly moving from southwest to northeast, and at that speed, they're moving fairly quickly, right around 40 miles per hour. We continue with the tornado watch that we have for most of our area until 3 o'clock in the morning. If you were watching earlier, the tornado watch that was issued that originally ran through 8 o'clock this evening, that was a particularly dangerous situation tornado watch. And that means any tornadoes that develop within that watch, given the environment they were in, there was going to be a high probability that it would have been a strong tornado. This tornado watch that continues through 3 o'clock in the morning, this is not a particularly dangerous situation tornado watch, but it's not that far away from being one, because in the Storm Prediction Center and from the National Weather Service, they did indicate that within this tornado watch, while it's not a particularly dangerous situation, the tornadoes that develop, a few of them could be intense. So we'll have to keep a very close eye on these storms, as that severe risk is still significant across the NBC 15 area. And that is why we still have that level 4 out of 5 moderate risk from the Storm Prediction Center. So let's go ahead and show you what the latest tracker is looking like, the latest forecast tracker. And we're going to start this at 9:30 this evening. So at 9:30, you can see a lot of those storms are starting to push east of Mobile and starting to push east of Mobile Bay, but that severe risk is still going to continue. And as I play this forward here, you'll continue to see those storms move from west to east, and by 11:30 tonight, most of those storms moving east of Baldwin County. Then eventually by 1 to 2 o'clock in the morning, it looks like those storms will, as a whole, begin to exit the NBC 15 area. So from now into the early stages of the overnight, I still want you to be prepared. I still want you to know where your safe place is and be prepared to move there really at a moment's notice, because as I look at some of these other storms, one of those currently out in the Gulf, just south of Jackson County, Mississippi, that particular storm is strong, and we are still seeing some strong storms within this line. Now let's go ahead and go back to the tornado warning that we currently have, again, southern Washington County and the southern part of Clarke County. Let me go ahead and take off the lightning data just so it's a little bit easier to see. But on the most recent scans, what I'm seeing is at least encouraging at this point. So Carlton, Choctaw Bluff, Rockville, Eureka Landing. I still want you to be in your safe place, but the rotation does not appear to be as significant as earlier. So let me go ahead and move this back in time, and we can actually see what it looked like. So this was right before the tornado warning was issued. This would have been back at 8:19, so that would have been quite a while ago. You can clearly see that couplet right there. After that, the tornado warning was issued as it moved from the northern portion of Mobile County into the southern portion of Washington County. And at that point, that likely produced that debris ball and the debris center that we saw on the radar, which gave it that radar confirmed tornado moniker along with it. And then as it continued to move to the northeast, maybe one more pocket, strong pocket of rotation just to the southwest of Carlton. But as it's continued to move off to the northeast, not only is the rotation not as tight of a couplet anymore, but it does not appear as it is producing as strong of winds. So I'll continue to check with the National Weather Service and see if they're going to stay with it. And it looks like the National Weather Service canceled the warning for Washington County. So for those of you in Washington County, the threat of a tornado has come to an end. But for those of you in southern Clarke County and now even into the southwesternmost corner of Monroe County, this tornado warning is also going to continue through 9:15. So it looks like, we checked with what the National Weather Service had on their discussion. So now this is moving to the northeast at 45 miles per hour. Let me put the forecast track on that and continue to check. So the tornadic thunderstorm will remain mainly over rural areas over Monroe and southeastern Clarke County. But again, this storm's still capable of producing damage. Even if it's not producing a tornado, chances are it's probably still producing some pretty strong winds. So we go ahead, and since this is a broad rotation, it could really spin up, if it does spin back up at any point within this. So let me put this out right around 40 miles per hour so we can get a better idea of where this is going to be going. But for those of you in Choctaw Bluff, this storm is going to be on top of you here pretty soon. So still getting that safe place. It's going to be better to be over-prepared and there not be a tornado than, of course, the alternative when it comes to that. So for those of you, again, in the southernmost portion of Clarke County, southwestern portion of Monroe County, be seeking that shelter from that storm. Let's go ahead and go back out, and just on the regular radar product, it does not look as impressive as earlier. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed that at this point it's not producing a tornado, and this is the only warning right now that we do have across the NBC 15 area. There are still several storms across our area, but none of them at this point outside of the storm that we have currently in southern Clarke County and southwestern Monroe County are currently warned because they are all currently below severe limits. So let's go ahead and continue to stay with the storm. That's going to be into the southern portion of Clarke County right now. Just waiting for the newest radar scan to come in. Latest radar scan was about a minute or two ago, so we'll check to see if this next scan tightens up the rotation or if it stays on the broad side of things. And of course, we'll hope that it stays on the broad side of things. And pretty soon I'll bring in meteorologist Kelly Foster into the fold just to see if there's anything that she's seeing that I might be missing at this particular point. So let's go ahead and check around towards Choctaw Bluff. Again, not seeing anything too significant, but it is still producing that wind shear, and we do have that new radar scan. So if this is producing a tornado, you're not going to be able to see it coming. So just seek the shelter away from just interior room, away from windows, lowest floor of your home. So Kelly, I'll go ahead and check with you. Is there anything that I might be missing with the storm currently?
Not at this time. Again, just the circulation is broad. We've not seen any further tightening, but we're watching it very closely. National Weather Service, of course, extending that tornado warning into Monroe County until 9:15. So it looks like right now we've got about 19 minutes left on that warning as this storm continues to press pretty rapidly towards the north and east right now. That warning is continuing due to the fact that it could tighten. As you mentioned, Washington County no longer included in the tornado warning, but Monroe County now is, and the polygon not quite as broad as it once was. When we take a look at some of the wind shear associated with this right now, it looks like it's near that Choctaw Bluff areas where we're seeing the most shear. But again, we're going to continue to watch this entire line. It's beginning to break up just a little bit once we hit the tail end of it over into Jackson County right now. And in fact, this is the only warning that we currently have in place across the NBC 15 neighborhood in terms of tornado warnings for Clarke County and on into Monroe County. Very small areas of these counties, but if you live in Choctaw Bluff, you need to be in your safe place, lowest level of your home, Alma, Mount Pleasant, Chrysler, and again, this is going to be continuing to move towards the north and east. So even places like Barlow Bend, you need to be definitely in that safe zone. And we're going to continue to watch every inch of the radar, but that's how things are looking right now. Thomas?
All right, so we're continuing to watch it, and it looks like the National Weather Service just canceled that tornado warning for southern Clarke County. So as we've been talking about, it looks like that the rotation has weakened below what they would classify as a threat for tornado. So that is definitely positive. So we are back to no warnings across the NBC 15 area. But just as a new update, just as Kelly was talking, the tornado watch that we had for George County in Mississippi, that has also been canceled from the National Weather Service, because as we've been talking about, as that line that's currently working its way more or less through southern Clarke County, down through northwestern Mobile County, and even into Jackson County in Mississippi, as that line clears you, your risk of severe weather will come to an end. But ahead of this line, the risk for significant severe weather still does exist. But for those of you soon in Washington County, your risk of severe weather will soon be coming to an end. So I'm going to go ahead and switch this to the national radar and just kind of show you what we're seeing across the board. So again, as of right now, there are no active severe thunderstorm warnings or tornado warnings across the NBC 15 area. As you go to our north, there are several flash flood warnings in northern Alabama and through a lot of Tennessee, and there are currently active tornado warnings just to the north of our area as you go up towards the Clanton area and then up towards the Talladega area as you make your way up towards I-20. But as I put on the storm reports over the last 24 hours, you can see that across the deep south, it has been a very active day with several tornadoes, likely a few violent tornadoes to go along with it that have just been outside of the NBC 15 area. So as we go through tonight, thankfully, we have been spared more or less the worst of it at this point, but the risk of severe weather still remains. And that is why the National Weather Service and the Storm Prediction Center still has most of the NBC 15 area at this point still within that level 4 out of 5 moderate risk. And that just simply means numerous severe storms are going to be a possibility. And for a lot of today, it has been relatively quiet. I mean, I think that so far today has gone about as well as we can hope. Again, we did have that tornado warning through northern Mobile County, southern Washington County, and it does look like that might end up being a confirmed tornado since it did produce a debris signature on the radar. And these storms will be capable of producing severe storms. If anything develops, given the environment that they're going to be in as we move through tonight, there is going to be that chance that we still could see some significant weather. So if that line of storms has not passed you by yet, just continue to be on guard. Of course, we're going to hope for the best. We'll keep our fingers crossed that we don't see any more warnings, but that's maybe just being a little bit too optimistic. The risk of severe weather exists for everybody across the NBC 15 area, especially east of this line. We're going to continue to keep you posted. We're going to be ending our coverage here relatively soon. We're going to be able to regroup. If you were joining us just in the beginning of this coverage, we did have some technical issues, so thank you for working through that with us. But again, as of right now, there are no active tornado warnings across the NBC 15 area. If we don't have any more warnings until 10 o'clock, we will be off air, but we are planning on being back on air regardless if we see a tornado warning or not coming up on NBC 15 News at 10 o'clock. So make sure that you continue to stay tuned. We'll continue to keep you posted on air, online, through social media. We are going to be here until the threat of severe weather has passed our area. So make sure that you continue to stay tuned, and we'll continue to keep you posted. We'll send you back to regular programming.